The Amateur is a 2025 film directed by James Hawes. Yeah, I never heard of him either. Now, this film was mostly made in the United Kingdom. I guess production costs are always going to be much, much cheaper when you're filming in a third world country. So, of course, because of that, it's got the obligatory TripAdvisor shots of Big Ben and Tower Bridge and all that sort of stuff for the 98% of the American audience that are unable to travel because they don't have a passport or can't fit in an airplane seat. Now, the film is starring Rami Malek. And Rami is one of those actors who looks like an alien wearing a human costume that doesn't quite fit. I guess other examples are Willem Dafoe, Nicolas Cage, and even Margot Robbie. Look at her eyes. And try and deny that. Rami plays a CIA data analyst. Yeah, he does valuable computer stuff like reading their text messages or sending girl guides to politicians' hotel rooms. You know, the usual sort of stuff the CIA does. And like all data analysts, he's got a beautiful, sexy, loving wife. Because as we all know, nothing turns a woman on more than a man who analyzes data. In fact, just recently, in my efforts to entice a Victoria's Secret model, I've started learning JavaScript. Well, for some reason, his sexy, loving wife decides to visit London, and then she gets killed by some terrorists. Which is pretty unlucky, actually. The chances of being killed by terrorists when you visit London is only about 1 in 3. What is lucky, though, is that all the terrorists are Caucasian. So we all get to relax for the rest of the film, and I don't have to use annoying words like problematic. Now, Rami is pretty down in the dumps about this, so he finds out who the terrorists are and he asks the CIA bosses to kill them. But they say they are too busy overthrowing democratically elected governments. So then he threatens his bosses, saying, if you don't help me, I will leak information to top journalists about all the bad things the CIA has done. And you'll be in big trouble because you're really scared of the media, aren't you? The CIA bosses then spend the next 10 minutes laughing in his face and showing him photographs of those same top journalists having sexual relations with farmyard animals. So, like a lot of people who have had any interaction with the civil service, he says, bollocks, I've got some free weekends coming up. I'll just hunt down the terrorists myself. And that's the basic premise of the film. Young Sheldon does The Bourne Identity, or Revenge of the Nerds meets Mission Impossible, or Dumb and Dumber and Juice Bigelow spend a weekend at Bernie's with a Mossad, MI5, and Napoleon Dynamite at Zero Dark 30. You know, that kind of thing. He first goes to London, to St. Pancras Station, where his wife was killed. And I know St. Pancras very well. It's one of my favourite places in all of London to wait for a delayed train. It's one of the great pleasures of British life, spending hours hopefully waiting on public transportation that will never come. You can even get quite a lot of work done in between the periodical machete attacks. But then he leaves London and goes to Paris, where although the customer service is equally as horrendous, the food, unlike in London, is actually fit for human consumption. In Paris, he tracks down the first assassin, who is a middle-aged lady. I'm not sure how a middle-aged lady ended up as an assassin, although I guess being a killer for hire is not too much of a leap from working in HR. He then commits the least impressive murder attempt in cinematic history. She goes into a hypobaric chamber for allergies, and he locks her in it and puts a bunch of pollen he happens to have on him. That's right, he's trying to commit death by hay fever. I'm not making this up, it's real. But she escapes, runs into the street, and gets knocked down and killed by a van, carrying a load of antihistamine. Oh, the irony, I made that last bit up. So he's caused the death of the first assassin. I'm not really sure how he plans to kill the others at this point, perhaps through other common ailments. Maybe attack one of them through his athlete's foot by putting anthrax in their antifungal powder, or perhaps an improvised explosive device in dandruff shampoo. Who knows at this point? Anyway, stay tuned for part 2, where I'll go into more gags, jokes, off-color remarks, basic racism and sexism and misogyny. Basically anything that'll get me some sort of recognition or notoriety by offending people. I'm joking, I would never do that, I'd get in trouble. My wife would put me over her knee. My imaginary wife, she's not real, she's just a figment of my imagination now. Don't tell anybody else that, they all still think that she's still alive. She is alive, I'm joking. Right, I need to do this bit over again. Stay tuned for part 2.